This episode is presented by Shaw. One of the most difficult things to cope with in football is fixture congestion. I remember the games piling on top of each other over the Christmas period. It's so intense, and you have to keep your levels high the whole time. But when you're feeling the pressure and you want to keep calm and a clean sheet, Shaw's non-stop protection range of antiperspirants is a good start. It has 72-hour non-stop sweat and odour protection that will keep you fresh and dry on and off the pitch. Shop now at Boots. Shaw. It won't let you down. Welcome to the Fozcast. Today we are talking all things football versus rugby. Are they the same? Are there any similarities whatsoever? We're about to find out. Tomasi, you good to go?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got some heavy hitters in the podcasting and the rugby and the football world here. Dan Biggar, Andy Goode, Jim Hamilton, yourself, and then the Old Lems under 10 player of the season. Myself.
Still claiming it.
Always,
Have you got the
mate.
trophies though?
Always, yeah.
And Old Lems, for your listeners, is a rugby club, just in
Yes,
case they didn't
yeah.
know, in case
So
the crossover wasn't
you
real.
guys grew up at Barker Butts, right? So we were Old Leamingtonians, not too far down the road. Coventry, Leamington,
You're the posh side.
Swansea.
Probably Mumbles, right?
Yeah, the Gower.
The posh bit.
we see it on the Gower, which is halfway posh for Wales. Yeah.
All right, what we're starting with, Tom?
We're going to start with salaries, football,
Money.
rugby, money.
Straight in.
We're sat in order already. So, actually, we need to swap myself and Goode around a little bit, and we'd be in the right order, I think.
I think one interesting thing which we spoke about before, when you represented England, Ben, you didn't know that you got paid. Because I remember being at your house in Manchester, got to be 20 years ago, and a cheque came through the post from M&S.
Yes.
And it was like a sponsorship. I think it was like $5,000 or something. And you were like, oh, that's a bonus. That was a commercial thing. But you also get paid.
Yeah, so we
by the
used to
FA.
get... So it'd be really interesting to find out, actually, if you actually get paid for England and
Yeah.
the Lions as well. Would you get paid for going away with the Lions,
Yep.
right? So when I first found out you get paid for England, we all got a match fee, but the match fee, we waived it. So we all waived it and gave that to charity, all right? But then what we did get paid was a portion of the charity pool, okay? So all the sponsors, your McDonald's, Marks and Spencer's, all the big boys, all go into one big pot, and then it gets paid out pro rata per sort of team you've been called up to, how many appearances, all that kind of stuff, and you'd get paid. And as the years have gone by, they've actually got quite lumpy payments as well. So I remember my biggest payment when I was in all of the squads for probably 3 or 4 years in a row was, I think, for a 6-monthly payment, it was about 40 grand.
That's not bad.
And I'm
Bloody
thinking,
hell.
this is all right, this. So what's it like in the rugby world?
Let me just start on this, and then the lads who have made the big bucks can talk about it. The fact that you've just shared the amount of money you've got is completely outside of what our sport does. So what I love about other sports, and football specifically, is you're happy to share, and it's in the media, you can contrast, you can compare, and you're always held to what your value is, right? So when you move different clubs, millions of pounds, whatever it was, transfer fees, what your salary was, what your weekly salary was. In rugby, and I've been pushing for this, no one really knows.
It's a taboo still.
And and we're happy to share. This will be the first time. I'm glad that we're opening it up. So no one out with our kind of peer group, which you very rarely shared anyway, knew what you were getting paid. You're guessing. So we could sit here and say Antoine Dupont, the greatest rugby player in the world, playing in France and Toulouse, is paid €1 million a year. We don't know that for sure. We're guessing. Owen Farrell is on 750. George Ford is on 700 or whatever it is. So this subject here, to straight out the blocks, has always been an uncomfortable conversation.
Why? Because the club rugby, I guess, is a little bit more cloak and dagger, but international level, that's there for everyone to see. Am I right?
No, internationally everyone knows what they get because it's all the same, isn't it? For if you're in the England squad, Wales different, Scotland different, and Ireland different, and they do it in different ways. But if you're in the England squad, you know what you're getting, and it's changed over the years. I mean, when I was playing for England, we were on 10 grand a game, and so effectively for football, it's very different. Your club contract is the be all and end all, right?
Yeah.
And then playing for your country, you're not bothered about the payments.
Is it fair to say then that playing for your country is financially massively
the pinnacle,
massively like the pinnacle, like you say?
If you're an England player,
Certain countries, yeah.
If you're an England player, 100%, and that's where it's all driven to earn as much as you can by playing international rugby. So players are playing injured and playing with bangs and stuff where you'd pull out of a club game, but you do anything to play in an international game because
it's the role reversal.
Yeah, the financial it is exactly the opposite to footballers,
And it's a little bit similar. It's quite kind of like obviously the richer clubs can pay bigger wages in general like that. But then the RFU is a much bigger organisation than the WRU or the SRU in terms of Scotland and Wales. So their match fees, because of the revenue that they generate,
commercial revenue, basically.
they can go back in and say, okay, well, we can pay the players. So let's just say 20 grand is what the figure is sort of been chucked about there, 15, 20 grand, as opposed to 7 or 8 from another point of view. But when we were based on, when we were playing for Wales, we went, it was if we were ranked number 1 to 4 in the world, our match fee would go up.
Okay, yeah.
So if we were ranked outside the top 4, so we ended up getting in the top 4 and then going on a run of 14 victories on the spin. So we ended up for the 12 or 14 months we played, we were sort of picking up 40 in a game, which
14
a game. So when you think like for a small country like Wales, that's that's a lot of money. But we were winning Grand Slams, we were getting to semi-finals of World Cup. So all of a sudden, when you bring the revenue in, you're actually sort of paying out pretty much the same as.
Well, the sponsors will be aligned to that, won't they? So there'll be, I don't know, like Continental Tires, whoever it is, will be upon your ranking in the world. They'll
success,
be tiered
basically.
As well, yeah.
When you're playing then, and you're earning that sort of money, the team knows they're earning that sort of money. Are you thinking about it whilst you're playing? Is it that just and that goes away once you enter the pitch?
As soon as you step over the pitch, because like Six Nations, there's win bonuses if you finish first, second, and third. And we, the honest answer is no. I was never thinking about it when you stepped on the pitch. But we had one meeting. I always remember one meeting was we couldn't win the Six Nations, but if we finished second, there was like a big bonus. And if we finished fourth, we were basically either going to finish second or fourth because of other results. So we had a team meeting on the Friday night before, and we just simply put like 2 numbers on a piece of paper. Like one was if we finished second, and one was if we finished fourth. And clearly that didn't make any difference when we went on the pitch, but it just
it did.
Maybe boys gave an extra 10%.
Just plants a seed at least.
But it was like, boys were just like, it was a bit. It broke the ice a little bit from the tech. Sometimes the meetings can be really like intense and serious and things. So we just broke it up a little bit and ended up that. The more interesting question was, how much did you get paid with M&S? Because I want to compare. Because I'm doing some bits with M&S at the minute. So we need to compare where the inflation is at the minute.
That was about 25. That was about 20 years ago.
We'll compare notes off air.
Yeah, we'll compare notes after. Yeah, I just find it all so interesting, especially your point about it's not spoken about in rugby. Even like player wages, like in football, when you see a figure that a player earns 50, 60, 70 grand. Again, that's not specific. They don't know for a fact.
They're guessing, are they?
But they're guessing it. But it's a pretty accurate figure. Most of the time, it's pretty accurate now because somebody would have told somebody would have leaked it to somebody. It's not really spoken about in the changing rooms what wages you're on, but we've had plenty of times when if there's a young player coming through or somebody's done really well and they're going in for a new contract, they might come to me and say, what do you think I could ask for? What do you think I should be on? And I'm saying, right, well, what are you on then? And they'll explain, and I'll say, right, I'm on this, and where are you in the pecking order or the ranking or the importance of our team? You've got to take loads into account, like what you could potentially go on to be and all these little things, but then you'll give them a ballpark figure of what they need to aim for.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear. And I say, but sport is underpinned by money, effectively. Yes, we're lucky enough to have played at the highest level and made a living out of it, but ultimately you want to be rewarded accordingly, and we'll maybe get into it. Like the international game in rugby has never been bigger. The club game went through a load of issues, or it has been going through a load of issues. We lost 3 teams in the English Premiership in Wasps, Coventry way for a little bit. They're in Cov, London Irish and Worcester as well, but a lot of that was around enhanced player salaries, poor commercial deals, low TV deals. And I feel as if like we missed that kind of moment to make FU money. Do you know what I mean? Football had this inception point, didn't it? I don't know when it was, maybe after late 90s, early 2000s, where the TV deals started coming in and you were getting multi-millionaire players coming through into the Prem or leaving and going to do whatever. But
that is all driven by TV rights, though, right?
TV rights. The TV is the big earner for football clubs. It's, don't get me wrong, they want to see stadiums full, and they always do see that in the Premier League. But the big earner is from TV rights, first and foremost.
We're talking about $6 billion,
and then other sponsorship
globally, effectively, and that's where rugby isn't anywhere near it, right?
Yeah.
So the Premier League deal in football, every kid around the world wants to watch it in whatever country you're in. In rugby, you couldn't tell me many kids outside.
That's
of
where
England
the endorsement,
wanna
the
watch the
commercial
Prem.
ones come as well from
Yeah,
Goode, though, isn't it? So obviously, with that many eyeballs on it
Yeah, yeah.
globally, like the front of shirt deals, they're worth millions and
way more
millions.
valuable
It's
then.
changing
Yeah.
a bit
Yeah.
now because they're not allowed betting
Betting.
companies on the front from next season.
But you guys were talking about Jordan Henderson on the pod. Was it last or about the money that he's sort of earning or was earning in the Middle East sort
Yeah.
of thing? And they're saying like, how do you get, let's just chuck 400 grand, and they were saying, well, it's probably not 400 grand a week and things, but if it's say 200, then it's tax free and
Yeah.
and all those. So like you made a good point there, Goody. Like you've sort of cracked the big markets in terms of the Asian market, the Middle East market, and the American market, and those are markets that rugby just hasn't broken into properly yet.
Do you think that will come for rugby?
Well, we've had the World Cup in Japan in 2019, and that was a brilliant World Cup, and it went really successfully. But then ultimately, it's kind of like it was just there for like 6 weeks. Felt like it was huge for 6 weeks there, and it sort of hasn't dropped off. The World Cup is in 2031 in America, supposed to be. Whether that has a big effect, it's hard to tell. But the problem is, you guys, from a footballing point of view, have cracked those big markets.
Yeah, I know.
And you guys go on. Another thing which you guys do is from footballers, that you go to Korea, you go to LA, you go to sort of Tokyo on tour and things like that, and all of a sudden you just
It's
generate.
the global game, though, isn't it? Like you think like Heung-min Son in South Korea is David Beckham.
He's the god, yeah.
And like that's why he's not why he's a very good footballer, but there's a method behind him signing for LA. There's a huge commercial appeal for these clubs trying to sign him. But the other thing I wanted to ask you was, so we did a podcast recently in New York with a Scottish lad, Lewis Morgan, who moved from Celtic and he's now at New York. And we were chatting and he said like, and we were saying, I wonder how much Lewis Morgan's on, kind of thing. And he went, it's there, it's online, it's for everyone to see. Like in the
just
MLS,
find it,
they print it. And it is on a website, and because of their salary caps and designated players, you can literally go and look on the list and see what people are playing. And that's one element which we found super interesting. But then look at the Ryder Cup. I'm getting to the Lions here in a minute, and there was a big hoo-ha this year about should the players be earning for the Ryder Cup? And you go, well, listen, the organisation, the Ryder Cup, they are earning significant money, and the players are the ones that make it happen. Which is why I want to ask you about the Lions tour. So, how does the Lions kind of money work? Because one, there's the point that you're playing, but secondly, you're out away from your family for
7-8 weeks.
Is it how long?
Yeah, 7 weeks. 7 weeks you're away. So
I can't wait for this, by the way, because I have never heard a rugby player share finances. Biggs, you're on the spot now. Here we go. How much you getting?
2017, we did a tour to New Zealand where this was pre-COVID, so obviously the tours were in full swing, the stadiums, the supporters, and the Lions were able to sort of sell the brand and go to all these dinners and everything like that. So I think from a player's point of view, I think we picked up there was a bonus if we'd have won the series, ended up drawing the series, and that's the whole squad get that. Because other squads which I've been involved with, sometimes it's just the players who are involved.
Yeah, starting team.
The starting team or the match day 23, but it was for the whole group because, like you said, you're all away from family for 7 weeks, you're all committed, etc. So I think we picked up pre-tax, I think it was about 65.
Right.
I think.
For the tour?
For the whole tour. But then if you fast forward 4 years in terms of 2021, which was the COVID tour, where there was no...
Yeah, it'd have been different completely,
there was
wouldn't it?
no spectators, no dinners,
none
no
of the commercial
sponsors,
stuff,
no sponsorship activation and all those things. I think we ended up taking home, I think it was less than 30.
Right.
So
Which, when you think about it, and this will be the point that they come on to, is minimum amount of money for what you put your body through.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
and as well, like, not just like that COVID tour was like, I mean, I'm not looking for any sympathy, but it was hard. It was a hard tour. You were basically training ground, hotel, airport, everything locked off, everything shut away. So you're literally just training room.
Do you think?
Sounds like the dream when you got kids, though.
Yeah, no, it does sound good. Do you think this? I actually this will sound bad for rugby players. Probably won't want to hear this, but I actually like the fact that the money isn't crazy in rugby because
you've got loads in the bank, right?
No,
the people who say that are always the ones who've got the most.
Money's not important. You can say that you got 50 mil.
What I mean is, right, you see in football, you see it in the Premier League day in day out, and players, as soon as they sign that big contract, the hunger goes, the fire goes out. That's it. They do not want to really work for their money anymore. Whereas I see in rugby, it doesn't matter if you're the highest earning player or the least, you are doing what is required. and you have to do it. You have to put your head into that absolute melee of bodies, and you know you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Do you think if we got to the point where money was big money, you'd have players going, do you know what? Do I need to turn out on Saturday? I've got this 2-year contract on 30, 40, 50 grand a week. Do I need to really push myself through it?
I think the big difference between rugby and football, obviously you have sort of 5, 6, 7 year deals, don't you, in football? And the value is in selling the player to the club, right? So the contract negotiation is all about length of contract, and so the player gets safety, the club get a bit of risk around them in football because that player might switch off and then you're trying to flog him or whatever. But it's the value of selling the player, isn't it? We don't have that in rugby. Yeah. So rugby, everyone's a Bosman effectively.
Saying I got sold.
Yeah. Well, I did as well, but it's very rare, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's
like 0.001%.
Yeah, very much that.
So effectively, you get a 2 or 3 year contract. Not many go over 3 year contracts, do they? And then you're basically on trial the whole time, right?
Yeah.
Because maybe that first year, if you're on a 2 year deal, maybe that first 6 months you've got a bit of leeway, but then the second 6 months, or if you're on a 3 year deal, the first year, if you don't do that well, it doesn't matter.
You're basically always playing for a contract.
You are.
You're always playing for your next contract.
You're always injured as well.
Yeah.
Not always, sorry. There's a lot more jeopardy.
Yeah.
So you play the sport. I know you had your first experience of the game. You know, you've been around the game as well, Tom. It's a tough sport to play. So you're always up against jeopardy, which is your body and getting injured and how your contract is formed. So when you ask the question, just specifically to answer that question, if the money came into the game, would there be a drop-off? I think you see that naturally in humans and athletes anyway, like how you're made.
Well, answering that, maybe you flagged it earlier, Jim. So Antoine Dupont has just signed a 6-year deal on €1 million or €1 million a year, allegedly. But it's he's not. He's also not going to be on 20 grand a year, is he? So
that's unheard of. 6 years.
But £1 million a year is in football. We're talking.
But this is what. So my point now is, Ben asked in terms of like if the silly money comes in. Now for rugby, 6-year deal on €1 million a year is silly money.
Yeah.
So the comparison there is, over the next 6 years, are we going to see Antoine Dupont? I don't think he will sort of drop off in terms of his, or is he just going to keep going and going because he's the best in the world, one of the best that's ever been? He obviously deserves the money and the contract he's getting. So I suppose that's the comparison, and only time will maybe tell.
They're safer bets as well. If you know the character of somebody, if you know that they're good lads, honest, hard-working lads, they just want to do it for different reasons, you ain't got to worry about it so much. But there's certain, and in football, the minimum, if you're playing in the Premier League week in, week out, you're on 30, 40, 50 grand a week. Yeah. The minimum, you've got League One players on £1 million a year.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
So with
what generally I think what we used to say is what rugby players earn a year, footballers earn a week.
Yeah.
As a comparison.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Capital One. Sometimes when you don't check before you commit, you can end up in a pickle. It's a little bit like that time at Wrexham where I forgot to pack my boots into the kitman's skip. When we got to the game, I had to borrow Ben Tozer's boots, which were a whole size too big for me, and let's just say it didn't turn out well for me. Or the time I was at Watford and my friend booked his wedding day on the same date as the FA Cup final. Guess who got to the final that year? It's best to check before you commit to something. That's why Capital One created Quick Check. With Quick Check, you can check if you're eligible for a Capital One credit card in just 60 seconds without affecting your credit score. And you'll always know the APR you'll get before applying. Credit with no nasty surprises. That's one good thing. Search Capital One. 34.9% APR representative variable. T's and C's apply.
How does it work with football? So you'll hear, I don't know, Bruno Fernandes on 300 grand a week, but often a large percentage or a good chunk of that is appearance. Maybe there's a win bonus. How does it work in rugby? So with Antoine Dupont, €1 million, Biggs, would that be
basic wage?
Would that be basic?
Yeah. Yes, is the bottom line. I hated, and I don't think I've signed a contract with bonuses in it, because I always felt like that was given too much. In the money that we're speaking in rugby, that was giving too much power to the club.
Yeah.
Because I felt like, let's just say it's an appearance bonus. Let's just say you're on 25 appearances. Unless you are an absolute starter in the team and things like that, you could get to 22 appearances by March, April.
Yeah.
And the club could be thinking, oh, well, there's a 50k bonus or 20k bonus here. We'll maybe rotate the squad, or if you need to start the bonus and things. So I never signed a contract with a bonus in, because I always felt like it was too much of a give to the clubs, and I always I want to know what I just want to get.
I want the black and white. I want to know every month I'm coming out with X amount.
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
I just took what was on offer. I didn't have the luxury.
Have you got agents though? Like same, obviously in football,
Yeah,
agents.
yeah.
You see the stereotypical agent in he's the guy driving a Rolls Royce. He's got a cigar on all the time. The rugby players have agents as well, right?
Yeah. My first club was Leicester, and we had Dean Richards, the famous Dean Richards, England, British and Irish Lions, so old school, and he would be annoyed with you as a young lad if you had an agent.
Yeah.
He'd basically sign the contract for you and say, look, there's 10 grand a year. And I'm like, but I've been offered 15 grand a year by Rugby Lions and a Ford Escort. I want to sign that. He's like, here's your 10 grand contract. But there was in the game, and it's only recently where it is started to change. Like, we've been archaic in our approach of how a lot of things have been managed, that the coach would be pissed off with you. He'd take it personally if you're like, speak to my agent. Hey, and Goode's probably the best person, because how many times do you get paid out? Your agent had to deal with. He would have been loving you.
No. I had Dean Richards turn up at my house. Right, we were coming. It was and they put pressure on you. This is going back when it was a start of professionalism, right? So game turned professional in '95, and so we're still learning effectively. And he turns up at my house. It was 2001, and we had a big semi-final on the Saturday. And he turns up at my house on the Tuesday. I hadn't signed my contract. And he said, I need you to sign your contract. And I was still talking to another club, and my agent at the time was like, you can't sign it yet. And so anyway, he turns up at my house, and I didn't know he was there. My phone goes. He goes, it's Dino. I said, mate, yeah, I know it's you. He's like, where are you? And I was like, I looked out my window, and he's sat in the front drive.
Are you out panicking
I
here?
went, I'm out and about, mate. He goes, no, I can see you in the house. So open the front door, let him in, and then he's trying to shake. He's like, shake on the deal, and you got bullied into it sometimes.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
and it has changed a lot now, but that's going back 25 years. That is.
How does it work?
It's changed a lot now with the agents and the power that agents have got.
How does it work from a football point of view in terms of, is it literally the club and the agent, or is it sort of you're involved in something? Because that was almost, I don't know about you guys and you, Ben, but like that was almost my favourite time of year, or my renegotiation. I used to love being quite involved in the contract negotiations and on the phone or in the meeting room and things like that. Or is it solely agent?
Honestly, I love this, lad, right? So this is straight away the difference between rugby and football is you're all grown men, aren't you? You're fully in control of your life and your destiny, and you run your own selves like businesses, right? Footballers are the opposite, right? We want no accountability. We don't want to have to think about anything. We tell our agent what we want, and we go, right, just
call me when it's done.
Yeah, do it, deal, do it, and that's it. And a player will very rarely have any. They won't go and see the chief exec, won't go and see the chairman, probably won't even go and see the manager. It'll just be agent, go and do it, and that's it. Simple as that. And you wait for the agent to finally go, right, I think we've got them to this, and then you go, yeah, cool, I'll sign it on that, and that's it.
So will the manager come up to you or anything? Or?
Not really. I think probably in years gone by where you had managers who had long stints at club and they were interested in trying to like really grow players and progress the team. But nowadays, I don't think they have time to worry about individual. They know they're only going to be there for a year, probably maximum. So they're just worried about getting a result on Saturday afternoon, whether that's you signing your contract and you're happy, or making you work a bit harder so that you might sign a bigger contract. Either way, he just wants the performance on Saturday.
I do wonder, and I hope I asked this in the right way, and I can say this, having grown up on a council estate in Cov, Highfield Road, is there a social class element to that, maybe an educational element to that, where you have young lads who are coming through systems at the age of 8, 9, 10, then there's money put on them, a lot of money early on. I don't know whatever background, and again, but this is without stereotyping, it's just going on my knowledge of football and lads that I know that have come through systems and gone on to be multimillionaires, is that there's an educational piece. Is like because we have to be educated in that. A lot of lads come from private schools, so they have an educational, mathematical, accountancy understanding, literacy understanding, and all of these things. Hope it's not sounding harsh. That's where we have more kind of visibility and understanding of what we're doing. Whereas if you're worth £1 million at the age of 15, and I know it's a lot more now, some of these players coming through, it's like you're a boy, and you don't understand that. Wayne Rooney was a perfect example. Listen to Wayne Rooney, and I, not being judgmental, or I was on Emil Heskey. I didn't think he was very good, but he's actually much better than me.
Legend,
but with Wayne, legend. Yeah, all right.
That's the
But with
legends.
Wayne Rooney, you'd see yourself, oh, you don't really say him, like England captain. I didn't realise he was illiterate until recently, where he was talking about on his podcast that he had to learn to read and learn to write. How is he meant to go and have a fucking contract negotiation when he can't read a contract?
But they're not expected to either, though, Jim. Like that, I think because the money is around them so young, and if there's a wonder kid coming through, there are agents sniffing around the training ground looking to snaffle them up at 15 and 16 and 17 years old, and then when that is taken care of. But like you said, with you look at like some of the lads that are coming through the England like team at the moment. We did a podcast with Finn Smith, didn't we? And there definitely is. You're not wrong in what you're saying. Like you kind of almost like don't want to offend people or the audience, but it's true, isn't it?
Do you know what it is? It's the word is accountability. Right?
Yeah.
So it's a really good question because I'm same as you. Council. I grew up in a council estate. I had a whole career playing football, but now my son goes to private school, plays rugby. His preferred sport is rugby, so he don't play football on a Sunday anymore. He gave up about 2 months ago. It was just too much hassle. We used to go all places in Birmingham and there would just be fights everywhere, kicking off. It was miserable, honestly. Both of us, we were saying, it's not really enjoyable, this, is it? He plays rugby on a Saturday for school, the best atmosphere. Win, lose or draw, everyone shakes each other's hands, the parents get on, it's a lovely social, everything about it is perfect. But the difference is with young footballers, when they get to this point when they're worth a bit of money, they know they can get away with stuff, right? Because the club, ultimately, they're looking at that thinking we could make a lot of money off of that player.
Yeah.
So he can act up, he can do what he wants, but they'll brush it under the carpet and they'll keep brushing it under the carpet. So he knows he can get away with it. And that's how it works.
But I think with football, like you said there, with going around and the atmosphere and all that stuff, because there's so much at stake as a kid that could make it at football.
Yeah.
They'll go to the end of the earth to create something for them to become a level up professional.
It's the money. That's what
Yeah.
I'm talking about. The money is the problem.
And does it happen? Does it? You know, when a footballer puts in a transfer request, do they lose any of the? Is that why it takes so? And is that why it's sometimes so long? Do they don't get a portion of the transfer fee then if they put in a transfer request?
So
is
you
that
don't
right?
get any portion of any transfer fee ever.
Anybody?
That's a whole.
So that's a
The
whole
signing on
bit.
fee. I think it's about signing on.
It's a signing on fee.
Because that's what they always used to say, wasn't it? Oh, that was what was put out there.
Percentage, yeah.
If you put a transfer request in, you wouldn't get.
No, so
10%
say
of
if
it or
I
whatever.
had another 2 years left on my contract, right? When I signed that deal initially, if it's a 3-year deal or a 4-year deal, you'll get a signing on bonus as well. And say if that signing on bonus is 200 grand, right? You don't get paid that 200 grand in one lump sum when you sign. You get paid 50 grand every year, so spread over the 4 years basically. You'll get that 50 grand in the first year, and whenever you hand that transfer request in, so if I handed it in with 2
lose
years
that.
left, I would have to forego that extra 100 grand that I was due. But if you're handing a transfer request in, again, I wouldn't actually hand it in. My agent would go and hand it in. That's what I mean. Shithouses everywhere. Everybody is they'll just get
But
their
that's
agent
what they're
to do
paid
it.
to do, though.
Yeah.
For me, I see the other side of it. I'm like, you're paying an agent to do that. There's so much money at stake.
Yeah.
I keep talking about kind of jeopardy or whatever. I quite like the idea, and maybe that's personally I'm quite uncomfortable doing that side of things, and I was anyway. Not because when you talk about money, height and emotion comes in, doesn't it? If you're a young kid or you're a young man, you just want to play football, you just want to play rugby, and that's where I quite liked having an agent to be like, well, no, that's your job, your expertise to do it. Let me just.
It's about being one step removed as well.
Yeah,
I
it's a good shout.
firmly
Yeah.
believe it's so. Even like I'm Ben's commercial agent as well, right? And it's very different with a brand owner or trying to have the conversation directly with Ben, and then Ben to turn up and do his duties and be a great lad, and then for you to then have a conversation and it might be a pointy one or you guys aren't doing this
100%,
very
yeah.
well. It's nice to be one step removed, isn't it?
I used to love it.
I bet they didn't love it.
Yeah, but I used to absolutely love it because you can always get to the point, and in rugby as well. It's always like, okay, well, this is your best. This is our best offer. Okay, that's fine. I'm not accepting it.
Yeah.
And they said, and then like 3 phone calls later,
Was there another best offer?
The offer's gone up, and they've all of a sudden they found a lot of money behind the sofa, and it's like, for me. But I used to like that. I used to like
But it's,
having.
it's all lies and like.
Yeah, but it's
Claim a
it's-
dagger, you
but I
just
always
don't
think
really
Contract
know.
negotiations is a game of chicken.
It is, yeah.
You've also got to hold the cards at some point as well. Haven't you?
Yeah.
You can't be backing and backing. But I used to hate the fact that contract negotiations took so long because more often than not, and this may be again a question, but in rugby, more often than not, if a club wants to keep you and you want to stay, there's no reason why that contract negotiation shouldn't just take place in a boardroom and people don't leave until they're happy.
Yeah, just get it done out.
Get it
There
done.
and then.
And where it's complicated is if you want to leave or if other clubs want to pay you more, etc. I understand that where it takes a bit longer. But for me, and I found this a little bit like in the now that I'm finished going into like the commercial side of things, you like everybody's got to ask and okay things with everybody.
Yeah.
Whereas like from a rugby point of view, I just love going in
But
and saying,
you were
finding
probably in a very, very fortunate position in the fact that how good you were and who you were. Like, imagine if you were a player that was fighting for their contract every year just to stay in the game.
But yeah, but I remember I was 16 years old and the Ospreys, and I got offered like 20 grand by like, I can't remember if it was somebody in England. It was like an academy in England, and the Ospreys, the club in Swansea, my home club, had offered me 2 grand a year. So I went into the sort of directors, the CEO, head coach, and things. I said, "Oh well, I need to meet. I'd like to have a meeting with you." And I remember my mum dropped me off on a Friday night before they played a game, and I went into the little meeting room underneath the stadium, and I said, "Oh look, this is the offer I've been presented. You've given me this. There's no way I can sign this." I said, "I'm not prepared to sign this." I said, I feel like I'm good enough to back myself to be worth more than that and play for you when I'm older and et cetera, et cetera. And he sort of said, okay. So he gave me a piece of paper, the owner, Mike Cuddy. He had a piece of paper and he said, you write down what you think you're worth and I'll write down what I think you're worth. And then we ended up coming over the table. We passed over and I came out of that with 12.5 grand. So
From 2.
from 2.
Yeah.
So I was a 16-year-old kid. I thought I'd won the lottery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I spent the first paycheck on the way out in the tunnel on the
Grand
way
a
out,
month.
sort of thing.
A grand a month, you're cooking, aren't you? at
But what I
16?
mean is in terms of like, and that's maybe again why, like, I think there needs to be more of that in terms of you've got to know what you've got to know what your worth is. But I just think like this, I just love that negotiation side.
Yeah, the hard thing on that though, you got to know what your worth is, but your worth is only what that
Someone
club will pay
you.
you,
Yeah.
or another club's going to pay you. If there's no other clubs, then they're in charge.
You want to bid him more, don't you?
Yeah. I won the equivalent of the Champions League, Champions Cup final. It was called the Heineken Cup. Started the final for Leicester at 20 years of age on 10 grand a year.
Wow.
And that
way.
was so that, and then you become. And I'm probably known for being a bit ruthless, right, with contract negotiations. And I moved
Everything.
Up to, well, no, but yeah, maybe. But I moved around a few clubs towards the end of my career, just trying to max out what I could, because at the start of my career, you had a load of success, but you weren't rewarded for it.
Yeah.
And it was, and maybe it was a Leicester thing, right? Because it was a battle to get. Because Leicester had this big thing around. We were the biggest and best club in the land, and they thought they didn't need to pay players as much because everyone wanted to play for Leicester. And yes, you did, because then you got picked for England further down the line, but massively undervalued as players. And then obviously as the game's changed, money's come into it more. You know, the word loyalty, which isn't a great word for me to talk about because I played for about 10 clubs, but that's drifted away from the game, hasn't it? In terms of rugby now, because players move all the time. Whereas going back 25 years when I first started, players didn't move. You pick your club, you stayed at it.
I think football's probably gotten too far ahead of itself. It's like the money in it now and everything. It's so faceless and it's just it's a bit.
They're all transactions, aren't they?
It's a bit horrible, really,
Yeah.
to be fair. And I think rugby needs to come a little bit into the current era now
But is
with the
there,
way that it's done.
Is there an element of there's so many clubs in terms of you? So if you're a footballer in England in the Premier League and somebody won't pay you 100 grand a week, you know that probably 4 or 5 teams in Italy will,
Yeah.
4 or 5 teams in Germany will, Spain,
Saudi.
Holland,
Yeah.
wherever, France, whatever, PSG,
Somebody
Marseille,
will be
whatever.
there.
So
I know.
you're
But
so
the
that's
pyramid's
almost
so strong as well.
so that's
It
what
is.
that's
I know.
what kind of your point is, Goode, isn't it? You've got to have almost other options to fall
You
back on.
know
And
what's
in
been the
football, you've
biggest
got-
killer? The Saudi league
Yeah.
really is what ruined it for a good few years. I know they're trying to like govern it now and sort of like clamp down on how much money they can pay and stuff, but they absolutely blew everyone out of the water because you've got these proper Premier League players in their prime who were being offered very good wages by their clubs, 150, 200 grand a week, like massive deals. But Saudi was offering them double. Like so,
and tax free.
and I can't blame people. I really can't. Like there's like this Anthony Joshua fight at the minute, 50 odd, 60 odd, 70 odd, mate. Whatever it is, you're doing it, aren't you?
Yeah.
You are.
Is there an element though? Like this is really uneducated from me because everyone's in different circumstances, aren't they? But there'd be an argument for the man on the street or whoever, woman on the street. We could say, well, if you're earning 200 grand a week, why do you need to go to play in a not as attractive league as the Premier League or La Liga or whatever for 350 grand a week?
Yeah.
If you're earning that money, so I suppose that's the question people would say. Well, then is it okay? Well, should you show some loyalty
How
for
much
200
money?
grand a
How
week?
much money is enough money?
Well,
But
that's the
300
same thing, though, isn't it? It's like it's comparable, isn't it? So if
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
offered you 2 grand, and then someone said, "I'll give you 4 grand," at that scale of it, it's not that much difference, is it? But at a roadman level, you're like, well, fucking hell,
Yeah.
$4,000.
That makes a
So
big
it's
difference.
double.
Yeah.
And that's what it is, because I think I see Joshua fighting Jake Paul. I'm like, mate, you're a multi-millionaire.
He's literally got 100
You
mil
are
in the bank.
loaded.
Like he's already
Yeah.
got 100 mil in the
But
bank.
maybe the mindset is, and we know, right, because we were athletes, right, and it's a short career, and because of the lack of loyalty and the injury, especially in our sport, in boxing as well, the jeopardy that someone like Joshua puts himself through, he's been flatlined a few times as well, is, I deserve that money. I'm playing in a tough sport. I've put my body on the line. I've, played football or rugby since I was this year's old. I would want to max out. And you're seeing that now, aren't you? And it's probably because of the lack of loyalty across all different sports. Especially in our sport. I know you probably want to talk about it, but the injuries and stuff like that. And I was probably too loyal. I had a few different clubs, but when it came to contract negotiation, I always felt uncomfortable. We'll pay you this, okay? And maybe that's because from where I'm from. But even now, when we do the podcast and stuff, I find it uncomfortable having commercial conversations. Will you do this for charity? Yeah, I'll do it. Good. He's like, fuck that. How much you paying me? Because it's just, it's just an uncomfortable conversation. But money's everything. Like,
How many games in your career, you three, have you played fully fit, 100%?
At the beginning of my career, there'd be a few.
Yeah.
But if you say 100% fit, as I sit here rubbing my finger, I mean...
Yeah, that finger's over
I
there.
know, exactly. Maybe the first season, and then I rolled into the second season, it'd be like broken fingers, sore back. I mean, we can maybe get into it, like some of the stuff that we had to put our bodies through, but it's quite harrowing, really, when I'm speaking to my wife about my son playing rugby or playing basketball. There's money to be made in Turkey, apparently, in basketball, not in rugby. But yeah, I'd say one season. It is a brutal sport.
What about now? Like you're all happily retired, and what's the state of your bodies now? You're only 6 months in, but
I'm wrecked.
Are you really?
I play in a different position to these lads. So
Very different.
These are fly halves. And, Biggs took a lot of contact as well in how you played the game. Goody, not so much. They were more. They ran the show. They threw us into the fire, basically. But I played in the position in the scrum, so number 4 or 5. So I was in the middle of a scrum. I was also a jumper, so that has its own issues around knees, desiccated ankles and stuff like that. But just to give you an idea of like head to toe injuries that I had, like I nearly lost my eye in a game, had my eyelid reconstructed, all the way down to desiccating my ankle, broken legs, medials, broken nose 3 times, multiple finger breaks, stitches, broken sternum, 6 broken ribs, 4 shoulder reconstructions, and that's just a few, broken foot, broken hand. And, when you talk about money and we talk about the sport and, sometimes it is a badge of honour, when you talk about having played the game or, we do a lot of grassroots stuff or speaking and, you see the cauliflower ears and the broken nose and there's a nod. But it is a brutal sport in some positions. Like it's as tough as tough sports you can get.
Do you hurt like day to day now? Are you kind of like, does the body repair to a point or do you struggle now as a result?
I do struggle, but I manage it very well. So I train. I'm very lucky that we do a podcast where we can make a living off it, where I get physio, supplementations. I'm very interested in that side
Have we got a
of
subs deal?
training. Have we got what?
Have we got a supplement deal, have we?
Yeah, yours is
I
an
haven't seen
alcohol.
that
Yours
one.
is of the alcoholic sort. But you know what? Again, without going too much into the kind of the darkness of our sport, is when you finish playing, and I didn't make millions of pounds. I wasn't at that level. But when I finished at 34. You're done. There's no aftercare. There's no, mate, I need a new knee. We've got lads, one that Biggs played with, Richard Hibbard, played for the Lions, long blonde hair, Wales. He's had a full shoulder, brand new shoulder, as in like a titanium shoulder put in. And I don't know what his situation is about, who paid for that or who got it done. But we're getting lads, and it'll be the same in football, like knees and hips and stuff like that, that are just completely
They've got you've got like we've got a PFA. The PFA would pay if I lodged a claim basically and said I need my knee doing.
Yeah,
that gets sorted.
There's the RPA who will help towards certain things, but you've got to be really bad, haven't you? So some mental health stuff, but injuries. I've had more operations since I retired than I had when I
maybe
played.
Go through them. Maybe just share because I think it's interesting for the football audience to hear what you've had.
Yeah, so I had 3 ankle clean outs at the end of my career. 3 knee clean outs, but that led to having osteotomy in my knee, so pins and plates put in, osteotomy in my ankle, shoulder reconstruction, all post-career. And I was lucky in the sense of I had a job in the city, and we had private medical here. So I did all my stuff through that because luckily with the policy that we had, it was pre-existing things counted.
Yeah.
Even if I was a rugby player.
But is this so? Even this, sorry to break this down even more detail, right? When you're looking at getting a job after rugby, are you looking for a job that has medical insurance as well?
Now it's a necessity, right?
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't say it was a bonus and a benefit. But I wasn't looking for a job just for that. So there's loads of lads that would be you go into jobs that might not get it. But I'd tell every player you need to find some sort of health insurance for it because the operations I've had, I've been on crutches for 6 months, wasn't I, with my ankle from the osteotomy, and it's the best thing I've ever done. But I can't run around now. Not that I could run when I played either, to be fair. But you just adapt your life and develop, and I cycle a little bit, train a bit, and ultimately you want to just be able to play with the kids. I can't. You see some of the lads who are blessed are allowed to do Ironman and marathons. I can't ever do anything like that because of my ankle and my knee. But I haven't got the desire to do it either. Yeah. But you just want to be able to play golf, cycle, play with your kids, that sort of stuff.
But that's body stuff that we've just gone through there. Like also systemically, I've had issues as well. Painkillers, gut issues. Yeah. I had a thyroidectomy, blew my thyroid out, got elbowed in the throat, had to have a plate put in my first rib. Had to have my thyroid removed, which is a hormone, testosterone, cortisol regulator. And I'm not the only story. There's a few others. This isn't to put people off. I know you're lads playing. This isn't. This is more a product of the environment and the time in which we grew up in. Because
it's changed now.
Like Goode said, we're quite late to professionalism. The money coming into the game. But I was at World Rugby for 2 years, and I was really trying to push the narrative on player injury. Prevention. I've been over Dallas Cowboys looking at stem cell things. I'm really interested in that space because, just to reiterate, we play the toughest sport probably in the world in comparison to what you get paid and what the output is. And so it's not just bones. There's obviously the clear stuff around concussion and head injuries and TBIs that is so much better. We didn't have that. That wasn't in place. I didn't miss one game through concussion or a training session.
You just go through it.
Albeit
simple.
Obviously, the game that I played. Yeah. I was concussed many times. So that's the kind of darkness of them. We've almost been the guinea pigs of that. Biggs, you've probably maybe stepped into that a little bit and things were significantly better.
Things were significantly better, especially the clubs I played for. There was never any issues from that side of it. And I have to say I was one of the very, very lucky ones. I played for 18, nearly 19 years. Never had an op. Longest I was out for was 6 weeks. I did my MCL. So I've never, I did my back at the end of my career where I've sort of bulging disc. But other than that, throughout the height of my career for 18 years, 6 weeks was the longest I missed.
So now though, would you say even though you didn't have any major ops, would you got wear and tear?
Wear and tear. I found that it would take a lot longer to recover from bumps. I picked up a lot more bumps and bangs in the latter stages of my career, which may have even impacted maybe having to come off with 20 minutes to go or whatever, or took a lot longer to recover from post game. So if you play on a Saturday, you wouldn't probably be training until maybe Tuesday or Wednesday type of thing. So for me, I was extremely fortunate. I was looked after incredibly well, and I came through a little bit later than Goode and Jim. So there was a bit more knowledge and a bit more sort of sports science and everything like this. But also from a rugby player's point of view, yes, it's clearly more physically demanding from a contact point of view than what you guys do in terms of football. But you look at the volume of games that you guys, in terms of their different injuries, aren't they? In terms of more sort of soft tissue injury and things like that. I mean, you guys are playing, Sunday, Tuesday, or Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday.
Yeah, they're kicking the shit out of each other, aren't they?
No,
yeah,
but
is it Liverpool? Is it Liverpool that have got 7 games in? Or one of them I was reading this morning, 6 or 7 games in 20 days or something. And you think,
I played in and again, you're 100% right, Goody, that you aren't kicking the shit out of each other, and your body is a lot better in terms of from that side of it. But I played in like a charity football game last Monday, and we played against, we were saying off air, we played against like Fabian Barthez, Lizarazu, Payet, those guys.
Legends.
I mean, just for the record, I hope you're as good at outfield as Barthez,
No
because he was
chance.
absolutely taking the piss out of everyone. Absolutely like Iniesta and Xavi in the midfield there. But what I'm trying to say was, and I've been doing quite a lot of 5Ks since I've finished it. So I haven't just finished and stopped doing things. So like I've kept going and kept being fit. But I woke up Tuesday morning absolutely done. As in the amount of running you have to do, especially when you're playing against teams that are better than you. You can't get within a yard of them. So what I'm saying is, like, the body felt like legs, knees, back, just from changing direction.
It's just different
How's
sports.
your body?
Mine,
Since you
it's
retired?
all right. You know
I know
what?
you
I've
cycle a
had
lot,
I've had a
but-
lot of injuries though. So
Yeah.
again, I've 3 ACLs, broken feet, sort of tiny little bones in your foot, horrible ones, wrists, double hernias, all sorts, fingers all over the shop. And it's all right now. I kind of learned to manage it. I do a lot of cycling, so I kind of stay on top of it. Do a lot of gym work as well. But like Jim said a minute ago there about anti-inflammatories, like I used to just live on anti-inflammatories.
Yeah.
Genuinely
What was your
live.
poison of choice? Do you remember the name of them?
I just had the big pinkies.
Oh, the pinkies.
600 milligrams.
Diclofenac.
Well, diclofenac are banned now. That's what we used to live on. But
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
it was. It was the
That's-
same
it's
era.
the same thing.
They obviously
Diclofenac,
know
yeah.
now. Do they? Are the footballers still on them?
Still on
things now?
them, though. So you're supposed to take them with the tummy settlers,
Yes.
aren't you? The gas I can't remember what it's called, but you're supposed to take them
To
with
line
them.
the stomach,
Yeah, to line
effectively.
the stomach, basically.
Yeah.
But back, like,
never
I'm
did.
talking 20 years ago, we never. You would take, again, because I had so many injuries, my knee would swell up every day, literally every day. Train, swell. So I was constantly for years and years
They
and
worked, though,
years.
didn't they?
They were incredible.
d-
But
d-
they worked, so that you just keep taking them. But then later on, I remember being on sort of muscle relaxers. What's the muscle relaxer?
Diazepam.
Diazepam, yeah, I was on the diazepam. We used to have sleeping pills the night before games or when we were travelling and stuff like that. So they and hand it out quite happily.
When I put my back out, just messing around with the kids, I was in agony, as in the back was completely out. So L4, L5 issue, but I had a proper back spasm where I was crawling around the floor for 3 or 4 days. I couldn't stand upright.
That's what I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to piss in a cup as well. But who do I go to? I can't bring up the GP. So one of the lads did a drop off, didn't he? It was a diazepam. I looked on the box. It was Leeds General 2007. I was like, give me that, and I just took it because we were desperate because there's nothing now for us as players
It's
now.
such a contact sport.
Do you know what it is? I hurt my shoulder 6 months ago, but like, I was in, honestly, so one of the worst things I've done. Tore my rotator cuff, right? Complete
Off the
rupture.
bike or not?
Oh, yeah. No, playing football. I went and played football, been retired for a year and a half and decided I thought I could still play football, landed on it, popped it, ripped it. But I'm being deadly serious. The pain was like, I've done, like I say, also the worst pain by far, white as a ghost. I'm just, for 2 days, I'm thinking, someone put me out of my misery. Anyway, I don't know where to go to. I haven't got a GP. I don't know where to go. So luckily I still know the doctor, don't I, from back in the day. Rung him up. He was like, mate, I'll get somebody to deliver drugs to your house like later on today. It'll be a few hours, but they'll deliver. I was like, thank you. Suppositories up my bum. He gave me something else to take that was unreal, like literally unreal. Took the pain away like you wouldn't believe. Sleeping pills, but I had to have it. I needed it like you wouldn't believe.
I asked my wife a question the other day, and I said, "This sounds ridiculous." And this is when I explain. I hope people will understand a bit more. But I said, "Well, how do you go and see a GP?"
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's because
Are you mad?
Of course it is.
Are you mad?
But for the last 20 years, I haven't been to it because if there's ever been a problem,
You won't
we've
even be
had
registered.
I'm
Got
not
to
registered.
register.
I'm
No.
not. The kids are in France.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's different over there,
So
isn't it?
so we're living in France. So we were back home the other day, and I was like, "So what? Who do I go to?
What do I do?"
Because the go to is you phone the club doctor, or the national doctor
Yeah.
who you've known.
Yeah.
If there's a problem, you just go to him, and then you sort it. Same for dentists. Same, you know what I mean? If you've got a problem, you straight in and things like that. So for me, I've realised in the last 6 months how.
Welcome to retirement.
Yeah,
pal.
into the real
Real life.
world,
I know,
into
yeah.
real life.
Yeah,
real
but Biggs, with that, that's why a lot of lads in sport struggle because, I mean, we're sat here in our sports, we've done well for ourselves, right? So we can talk about these things, talk about experiences, but the majority of men who've played our sport, I imagine a lot of the footballers that are playing down the lower leagues that are trying to make ends meet, they'll have the same injuries as us.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And when they retire and you're in pain, the loss of identity and all these things that manifest when you stop playing sport, it's the pain thing for me, which I think lads in our sport I know, speaking to players, is like how you manage that, you know, as you get older and these things as well. But, you know, that's the nastiness around the game. There's so many more positives, but I think it's quite interesting to share that.
So when I was at West Brom, when I was at Watford, basically we have a club doctor who does injuries, physical injuries, muscles, all that kind of stuff. And then you have a family doctor who's on site, who anything, illnesses, anything for your family sorted. We had dentists literally just down the road. Everything and anything was sorted for. The players, some of the players, talking about accountability again, if they got a bill through that they didn't know where it came from, right? If their car had a fault on the screen that they didn't know what to do with it, they would, if their dishwasher broke, yeah, I'm not even joking you, they would come in to the liaison guy at the club and go, my car needs servicing. And he'd go, all right, do you want me to sort it for you? And he would go, yes. And he would go, all right. And he'd give him the keys.
Is that the foreign boys though?
No.
No,
Oh, it's everyone.
Fair enough. I was
It's
going to say,
not just foreign boys.
because I can relate to that, and you'd be the same, Goody, from spending a bit of time outside in a country where you don't speak the language to start and things are done differently. So like, it's not easy, is it?
No.
In terms of opening a bank account, getting medical.
I understand that. Yeah,
I understand, but yeah, if it's kind of like
Yeah.
the British guys as well.
dishwasher, washing machine, flat tire. Honestly,
we worked with a coach, and he said he had one of the lads come up to him at Southampton and said, "Can you help me? I need to buy a pink Christmas tree." And he was like, "This is the first team coach he's going to." And he was like, "Fuck off! Like, what are you
But
doing?"
because they've been in academies, though, isn't it? Like a lot
Yeah.
of the time. So I've got mates that have got kids in Tottenham Academy, Watford Academy, from 7, 8 years old, and I've got 8-year-old girls, and that's too early
yeah. Oh god,
in terms of what I think for my girls.
I think so. Yeah.
But then that's how you're going to make it or not make it, right? If
I
you're
don't
not in
know
the
though. I
academy.
just think the life experiences that you miss
Oh,
out on
100%, yeah.
from those years, those real kind of formative years of
Yeah.
learning stuff, from
Yeah.
being in that academy and wrapped up in cotton wool.
Yeah.
I think you miss out on so much more of life and everything else that.
But from a technical point of view, if you're in at 8 or in at 13, how big is the difference, and can that be bridged from 13?
Yeah, at that age especially, because it's all about how your body develops and how it grows. And so you see players at 8 who are will beaters, right? And then by the age of 13, they haven't grown or they have grown, and then the body don't connect and it don't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
So I just think those years there, leave it to 13. Because I think from 13 is probably where you can get start to get a real gauge of it. You very rarely see a wonder kid at 8, 9, 10 years old that goes on to actually be a wonder kid.
Yeah, that's fair.
Really do.
Can I ask you just quickly your favourite time or your favourite period as a player, and where and who, under what manager was it?
My favourite period probably would have been about late 20s. So I think when we just had our kids, and I was at West Brom, and it would have been it's not necessarily the manager that makes it. It's more the team. It's more about your teammates. And we had like a real solid British core of players all the way through the spine of the team. Real good lads that were there for a long time as well. 5, 6, 7 years. I was there for 8 years, but most of them were 5 or 6, 7 years. The lads were all together at the same time. And I just loved every single day. 1, going into work. 2, we all knew we'd all just fight properly on the pitch on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
We weren't necessarily the best team, but we would outwork most of the teams. And that's the bit you've got this kind of like quiet pride of always doing this to teams. So that would have been sort of, I think as well as men, late in your 20s, once you have kids especially, something really hits home about what's really actually important.
Yeah.
And football's great and it's the be all and end all, and fans expect you to be gutted if you lose and happy if you win. But you kind of got to a place where win, lose or draw, we're always, it was fine. It was fine.
Who's the manager then?
We had a few, to be fair. We had Roy Hodgson at West Brom. We had Tony Pulis at West Brom. Steve Clark, who's just unbelievable with Scotland at the minute, actually.
Okay.
Talk about Scotland. Did you watch it the other night, by the way?
I got the OG. Of course I did. I'm
He's
Scottish.
He's English.
Live in
He's
Scotland.
got a Scotland top on, though.
Well, speaking of someone who's
the
like
OG.
Xavier Iniesta, McTominay's turned into Xavier Iniesta.
Incredible.
What's
isn't
going
it?
on with that?
Amazing.
Incredible.
Which bit?
What a player.
Oh, amazing.
McTominay.
Amazing.
player.
Man United.
Isn't
What a
that
good
He
just
looks
as-
like a man now, though, doesn't he?
Yeah,
He looks
yeah,
like
yeah.
a fully grown man.
He looks stronger. He
Yeah.
looks like
You see him
more-
walking
He's had a
around
bit of
with a
Italian
double
pasta in
espresso and like
Yeah.
he's
Napoli,
turned
mate.
into.
Yeah.
Hey? Maradona was at Napoli, weren't he?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
There you go. Hey.
But what's your
Make a man out of
obviously
you.
playing for the different clubs you play for? Do you support a club? Because that's obviously we've all got clubs that we support. I'm sat in my Cov shirt. But actually, when you're in the game playing, but you grew up as a kid supporting someone.
Yeah, Tottenham. I was only just because my brother was a Tottenham fan. So I've got 2 older brothers, and he kind of made me be a Tottenham fan, really. But once you start playing, and I'm playing against them, you can't really go and support anybody anymore.
No.
So I've fully lost that kind of affinity or that support for Tottenham. My son's a bit of an Arsenal fan, so
Glory supporter.
He was happy yesterday.
He's quite happy.
You're not a Baggies fan then, no?
No, no, he is a bit. To be fair, yeah. Because,
you.
No, I'll definitely. I will look after the teams that I played for and have
Yeah.
like the best time of my career at. So it will be West Brom, Birmingham, and Wrexham. That's who I look for.
Not Watty.
Who?
Not Watford.
Nah, there's too much kind of bubbling on behind the scenes. Honestly,
Too much drama.
It leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Though,
Oh, it
because
does, yeah. If you're
the
at a club
club,
like that.
is fantastic, and they where they are, like geographically, like that location is North London is perfect. They should be in the
Should
Premier
way
League.
better.
They can make a real success of it. But the way that some of the people at the club run the club, you just think, what are you doing? Like, what you do? Turnover managers all the time, politics, internal politics, and that just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. It really does.
I've got a question for you guys. Who is the Messi, the Lionel Messi of rugby?
Anton Dupont.
Yeah. Straight up.
Right now.
Well, we have. I mean, Lionel Messi, as we know, as you know better, like has transcended the game. A lot of footballers have done that. David Beckham, Ronaldo, even as far back as Maradona and Pele, and really cut through into popular culture and become cult heroes, I suppose, wherever they walk around in their country and globally, where people recognise them. We haven't had many. Johnny Wilkinson, Jonah Lomu, the late great, Dan Carter.
Like, for my era, Dan Carter would have been.
So there's maybe 5.
Yeah.
But in the modern game, you talk about someone that's starting to do a little bit more away from the game. He's done some activations in the NBA. I saw him with Victor Wembanyama. The contrast.
Dupont now.
Yeah.
And he's with. He went to the LA Rams last.
Yeah.
Summer
I'm
as
sure he did
was
something as well
And
with Messi.
He's got a deal with like Louis Vuitton and things. So like, you think like that doesn't happen to a rugby player, does it? Rugby players don't get deals with Louis Vuitton. Whereas,
I've got a deal with Louis Vuitton.
Oh, okay, well,
Can I just say
go
that?
to the shop and buy some.
we were
Down
just,
Well Market.
we were just actually having this conversation earlier. I won't go too much into it with Slug Hands over there, with one of our producers about
Slug Hands.
like
Sweaty hands.
he's got sweaty hands. Yeah. Obviously, Slugs don't have hands. He's got sweaty hands. He's a good lad though. You look at all the other sports, the greatest players are like the Messi of other sports: LeBron James, Brady, Michael Jordan, whoever it is. That you can literally name them, can't you? There'd be 2 or 3. It's interesting to ask you then, as a casual rugby fan, who would you say? So and I'm putting you on the spot on purposely. Of all time, so if you could name 2 or 3 rugby players, who
I think
comes to mind?
For us, being English, it's probably Johnny Wilkinson.
Yeah.
Probably
Anyone
Johnny
else?
Wilkinson.
Probably a little bit more niche, but what was the New Zealand 10?
Dan Carter.
No, Carlos Spencer.
Carlos
was it?
Spencer,
That is quite niche.
Yeah.
But but there you go.
Skills to pay the bills.
So there, in that point, right, that you could only name one, right, and we're sat here as rugby players,
Naming a
and
load
we
of
could
footballers.
we could literally
Yeah,
start
true,
reeling them off.
Yeah.
Gazza.
You named
Yeah.
about 8 there. You
Right,
Yeah, of
so
course.
question back to
Sims.
you then, Fozzie. So,
Tony Yeboah.
yeah, do you remember
Peter
Richie
Unlove.
McCaw? He was a flanker for New Zealand. So, like fair assessment, say just absolute heartlessly dog, work ethic, like real skilled as well. But who in the football world would you kind of put in there?
Equate that to.
Any more that we need, like real leadership?
Tony Adams.
I would say if you were to talk about the most, just my opinion, lads, the most complete rugby player of our generation, or the professional generation, is probably Richie McCaw when it comes to fitness, hard work. He was a leader, he was captain, winner as well, quite understated. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't all the glitz and glam.
Yeah. I'd say that probably a little bit like
Jono.
Martin
Johnson
Johnson was a big.
So who would have
Is,
been?
it,
what
is, it,
what
is that a bit like
footballer?
a Stephen Gerrard then, is it?
Yeah.
What? Yeah,
Yeah.
quite
A bit
possibly.
all-rounder,
What did he
polished.
win?
Just-
What did Gerard win?
Oh,
That's
come
nasty.
to
Sorry,
Liverpool.
so he
I
slipped,
like
didn't he?
it though, mate. It's
He's
good.
He's in Bahrain at the
Champions
minute, by the
League.
way.
Good.
Living in
He did win the
Bahrain.
Champions League, in fairness.
Oh, he
yeah.
did, to be fair.
Yeah, he did.
N'Golo Kante maybe in that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Stevie G's a good one.
Would it be like a Zidane type figure in terms of like, or would he be more of in your superstar?
Yeah,
He's a superstar.
yeah.
He's a galactic.
I think Stevie
He
G's
was
a
like-
great shout.
Yeah,
Yeah, because he's a bit more understated. You know what I
Because
mean?
he had
just
it
went about
all,
his
but he was a
business,
dog
didn't
as well, wasn't he?
I've got a question for you. So, who's the Welsh winger, rapid Louis
Louis
Rees-Zammit.
Yeah.
Why has it not worked out for him in the NFL then? Because you watch him run. I watched him the other day, and he is just. Considering he's 6 foot whatever, and he's an absolute unit.
Yeah,
he
he's a big
shifts,
boy.
doesn't he?
Yeah, I'm really interested in that space. Biggs is close, and we've had him on our show a few times as well. But I interviewed him a couple of times when he was in that transition and when he was actually there doing it. And we spoke off camera, and I was like, mate, what's it like? And he said, oh, hanging around with Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce's a different world, like financially and just like in awe of these incredible athletes. But what he said was, he's like, there's so many athletes like me, or like him specifically when he's talking about himself, with the speed and the power, He's like, but it's the having to think. So you get these playbooks, and it's all about the playbooks and strategy. He's like, when a play's called, he has to think, and with that split second of thinking, the other player's already in that position because it's instinct. So he just didn't.
It's also playing the game for 15 years, growing up as
That's
a kid.
what I mean. Is that why then? Because he hasn't grown up playing that
Just
game, and everybody
instinctively.
else has got that advantage over him because of that.
And from an athletic, and I don't think I'm harsh saying this, maybe he's an incredible athlete in rugby, but rugby there's so much more because you need fitness, you need speed, you need power, you need to be able to jump high. You've got to be robust, but I think it is in the NFL a different level of athleticism.
Do you think as well it's a little bit, and linking this back to football, effectively it's very difficult for the NFL to have taken a chance on someone like Lewis, because effectively they can just go out and get the next best thing from St. Louis or whatever,
college they want,
or from Seattle or from whatever college. So it's kind of like there's so much choice for them to take a chance on. Is that linked back a little bit to what, certainly in the Premier League, how much harder is it for younger players to get a chance? Because ultimately, when the manager's under pressure, easiest thing to do is, let's go and spend 50 million on a world class player, or 100 million.
But even now, even when like clubs get to the summer transfer window and they're off, and they've got all these scouting networks all over the world now as well. But I think it still links back to money. I think it's so much easier to scout players nowadays because the network's there, but they're much cheaper as well. And these players are still so hungry as well, right? So they've never grown up in these lovely facilities, they haven't been given everything yet. And they get these players through the door, and they're still willing to work hard. Because I still think to be the best footballers, to be the footballer that might go and make it or make a name for himself, you've got to want to work hard all the time.
Yeah.
And this is what money does, right? It softens you.
Yeah.
It softens that work rate, and it softens that desire to go and do it relentlessly.
So were you softened when you got the big contracts?
No, never. Never.
You were an anomaly, were you?
Yeah, no. There's certain players. I said this before. There's certain players and certain characters you can trust to do.
Yeah.
You can trust that you can give them the new contract. Like if you give Declan Rice a new 6-year deal, right, on 300 grand a week, you'd still get Declan Rice tomorrow that you got today, wouldn't you? That's and there are players that go.
Not everyone's like that.
But not everybody.
The interesting thing with Louis Rees-Zammit though is, I think for me when I look at it, the IPP to your point is like they pick these players from the international player. They're trying to grow the game around the world, aren't they?
And the fact that we are talking about it
Exactly.
on a crossover podcast means the NFL have succeeded in what they're trying to do.
Yeah,
I don't think it's about Louis Rees-Zammit. Well, in fact, I know it's not about that because he's now playing rugby again. But they're such a successful sport on and off the pitch, commercially, Super Bowl. You can look at all the different touch points, the fandom, how much the athletes get paid. They're the number one sport in the world when we're looking in at how things are done. And their house is in order. Right, so now they're looking to build other houses. Yeah. Germany's a big market for them. Spain, obviously the games that are being played.
A couple of weeks ago.
In Wembley quite a lot, don't they?
Yeah, in the UK, in Dublin as well. So they have got the luxury now, haven't they, to actually tap into other sports. And the fact that one of our most talked about athletes goes over there.
No risk for him. Like, do you know what annoys me is on social media when I see comments, and I followed the story, and I really found it interesting. And people going, "Oh, he's failed. He's come back." And you go, "Listen, one, he was young and he wanted to give it a try. Fair play." Actually, from a financial point of view as well, my understanding, even playing for Wales, is that in the training squad, would he be something like 700 grand a year or something, a significant amount of money? So financially, it wasn't like he was taking a huge hit or anything like that.
And his profile, and also integrating new fans. The fact that Travis Kelce and Pat Mahomes were asking him about rugby sparked their interest. Then Jason Kelce, and they're talking about rugby. Do you know what I mean? So from a rugby perspective, I think it was a massive success.
What were the Welsh rugby fans like about sort of welcoming him back?
A lot easier, considering Wales hadn't won a game for 2 years.
Can you please?
if Wales had won every game, it may have been a bit of a harder sell to bring him back in. But I think Wales was probably so short of big players, big name players, and world class talent that they sort of saw this as a real opportunity. And you can see I was at the stadium at the Principality 3 or 4 times this month for Wales's games in the series. When his name is read out, considering he hasn't played rugby, he's played 2.5 games of rugby in 2.5 years.
Wow.
His name is still getting the loudest cheer because he's connected with because he's big. He's news. and he's popular. And
Has he
he's
picked
gone
it back up like that?
Yeah, he
Has
looks.
he?
He looks
Unreal,
sharp. He's put a bit of weight
Looks
on
bigger,
as well.
yeah.
In terms
He's
of
a
like,
unit, mate.
he wasn't like that before he went. He looks chunkier,
rapid though, isn't he?
but
that's-
good chunky. You know what I mean?
That's
Yeah.
how they had to train him to try and play, because he got moved around 2 or 3 positions, didn't he?
Yeah.
And dealing with some of those athletes over there, you've got to work hard, and you can't just rely. He can rely on his own sort of talent. He's not that sort of person, but if he wanted to, he could rely on his own talent in rugby because of his speed, because of his ability to beat someone one-on-one. That will keep him in the game for as long as, but obviously pushing the boundaries and get him as high as he can. And I love the fact that he went there. It was his dream. His dad was involved in it when he was growing up and loved it. And he took a chance on himself. But there's a lot of doubters in rugby. There's a lot of people that go, I hope you fail, hope you don't get anywhere, which is the rugby way, isn't it?
Well, some of the stories he came back with about being in Pat Mahomes' house and nights out with Travis Kelce. I mean, it was incredible.
Yeah.
And that's just the social scene, let alone the performance side.
There's some
of-
life experience that, isn't it?
I mean,
Oh my
as a
gosh.
young man, you know what I mean? What was he, 21, 22 when he went?
22, I think.
Do you know what I mean?
Was that all
Mate,
he
you got
was?
kids
Good
on-
looking lad as well.
Good looking
He
lad.
would have been doing
Yeah.
some damage. He would have
Oh,
been.
absolutely, yeah, exactly. I think he came back with a missus, didn't he?
He's
Yeah.
got an American. I think she's American.
Of course,
Yeah,
let's say she is.
Yeah,
A 10
let's-
out of 10 as well,
don't
yeah.
let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Yeah. No, he's done all right, the
I
kid.
guess, you know, like we were talking about the NFL, like for footballers, and we're doing a bit of a crossover here. How popular is, say, rugby amongst the football lads, or is it not particularly?
It's not particularly, is it? I don't think I've really played with many people that
Who'd be like a real big...
if we're talking about people that would actually go to watch the games, it would be the British lads, it would be the Irish lads more than anything. You'll get some of the Scottish lads wanting to go and watch on a Sunday or anything like that, but you'll get a few English boys, but most of the times it'll be the Scots and the Irish, really, with the Welsh boys again, but not massive, really not massive. It's not like we'd be planning to go and watch a game on a Sunday or even, do you know what I mean, Saturdays we're playing anyway, so we're not really going to watch it.
What about boxing?
Yeah, boxing, they'll get behind the boxing.
Okay. And this is for me, right? And I love football. I love boxing. I love UFC. There's a social thread that goes through this. Like, football speaks to the people. It speaks to the everyday person. It's tribal.
Yep.
Okay, it's for the working class people. Same as boxing. That's why TalkSport's such a big platform, right?
Yep.
Because it has, they're the two biggest sports that they talk about. And that's where you talk about popular culture and growing and money in the game, and we want to get paid more and all of these things. Where the thread in football in this country is football, boxing, Oasis. You know what I mean? Like, as in music, in that. And that's the masses. That's the everyday. And we're in this kind of outside where people are starting to look in now, oh, that's fucking a good sport. The values that come with it, a tough sport, how much can you make playing rugby, Is it worth it, kind of thing? And we're in that position now, but it is interesting that we kind of knew the answer, didn't we?
Yeah.
There might be a few
Not
that know.
It's the difference between how many rugby players will want to go to watch
Football.
a football game on a
Yeah.
Sunday.
Yes.
Everyone talks
and
about it.
will be on the
Every
on
player.
the sofa watching Super Sunday and the big game on Sunday afternoon and things like that. It's literally it's on more in my house than rugby. In a way.
Yeah,
You
my
know what I
mates
mean?
were asking me, why is football so popular? Compared to, they get paid so much more money. For me, and it's the same as the boxing analogy, simple to follow. So in boxing, you watch a boxing match, you know what you're looking for.
Yeah, it's true, yeah.
You watch a football match, you literally,
Yeah,
it's so
clear,
easy to get into that. It's even the Scottish football, most of them are 0-0 draws, but you know what's going on
Yeah.
with it. Whereas a rugby, and we were speaking about in our podcast before, there's a confusion. Oh, what's going on? Why is he yellow card, red? What's going on? What they're doing
That's
here?
what you found so interesting watching it. Like, I was for years trying to get you along to watch, and you're like, I think it was a lack of understanding. But as you've started watching, and your lad in particular, you understand like the roles. Like, he came back the other day saying, Louis was playing with this lad, and he was playing centre, and he was like 6'3" and massive, and they just give him the ball, and he just down the middle, and like you
sick. I
can
love
start
it, yeah.
understanding the roles,
Yeah,
don't
it's class,
you? And
yeah.
So do you enjoy the physical aspect? So do you appreciate that? So when you watch, I know that's a different level with the young lads, but when you watch the game, what do you appreciate? What's the thing where you're like, wow?
I love the fact that they're all units now. So my son's 16, so he obviously, like I say, he goes to private school, so they play in the Rugby Schools Cup, and some of the kids they're playing against, you're talking about scholarship schools as well, some of these from up north as well, like your Hull teams and your Sedbras and teams like that. Honestly, 6'3" lads who you give them the ball and they can shift a bit as well, but you've got lads who are 5'8", 9, 10, 11 who happily dive in head first into their knees and into their feet, and I'm thinking, I don't know if I could do that.
So the
lads,
physicality
honestly.
and the
I
athletic.
cringe watching it now a bit.
That's what I mean.
Oh,
but,
the
yeah.
sound it
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
and stuff like that.
So, as someone new to the sport, so it's the athletes that you're looking
Yeah.
at, but also the physicality.
But also, do you know what I really like? The best part of it for me is the team spirit for it.
Yeah.
The team, the fact that everybody is together, the camaraderie, everybody's buzzing off everybody, clapping each other for a tackle, patting him on the back, grabbing him, picking him up. Nobody's flinging arms around. Nobody's being little dickhead.
Not only
divas.
that though, it's the socials as well. 'Cause
Socials,
Ben
yeah.
was telling me about that. They do the curry on a Saturday night.
Listen
and
to this, right? It's class. I love it, yeah? So, obviously, you've got the sixth form after so my son's in the final year. Once they leave school, they go to the sixth form at the same school. So, you've got your 2 years of A-levels, whatever. So, if Louis' team win, and it's a big win, and they want to go and celebrate at the Curry House, they have to ask the A team, which is the A-levels guys, they have to ask them if they can go to the Curry House. So, the captain, Theo, will make his way over to the captain of the... Hi, sir, is it okay if we go? And he'll give them a little, yeah, no worries, well done today, lads. And they'll come and watch and stuff like that. You have the big boys coming and watch because they're playing on the first team pitch now as well. All of that, I love that sort of...
Brotherhood.
I just love it. I think it's
camaraderie
really
and stuff.
nice. Really, really nice.
You were speaking about the camaraderie, and you mentioned your time at West Brom where you had like a core group of like 6, 7, 8 British guys.
Yeah.
How difficult is it to get that in football because you've got guys from France, Holland, Spain, England,
Yeah.
Africa, Japan, whatever? How difficult is it to bring it together? Because we're lucky in our sport that generally, if you, say for argument's sake, you play in France, 90% of the players are French, aren't they?
French,
So
yeah.
you've got the French thing, you've got a few foreigners, and you mix in a bit easier. But when you're dealing with, or if you're in England, obviously 90% of people are English. You've got one or two.
Yeah.
But in your sport, it's literally you kind of
Changing room full of nationalities.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So how do you bring that
It's
together?
really hard. It's really, really
What's
hard.
the best way you found to do it?
So I've seen it go well, and then I've seen it be awful at the same time. So when I first signed for Watford, actually, 2018, this would have been, and obviously I'm one of the sort of like senior members of the team, probably the oldest player on the team. And you've got probably a little group of about 8 British players. You've got a group of 5 Spanish, 5 French. You've got a little African corner over there, and everybody just sits in those little corners as well. So you've got 4 corners of a dressing room, and every little nationality is sitting in their corner. But we all got on really well. We actually, I don't know why it was, or I can't put my finger on what it was. We all just actually really got on well, but we were winning. And when you're winning, right, I think it's much easier to get on. People, you kind of forgo a bit of dickheads here and there, and but when you lose,
We all speak in English.
Oh,
Did they-
but you can get by. Even
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was trying to learn Spanish anyway, so I was trying to talk to the Spanish lads in a bit of Spanish, and I knew a bit of French, and that's why I chat rubbish with the French guys and stuff like that. But when you're losing, don't I ain't fluent.
He's saying
I ain't fluent. or anything like that.
French,
Fuck
bonjour,
you, French.
Rodney.
Bonjour, Rodney.
Je m'appelle Ben. Right, so, but when you're losing, oh my God, honestly, that's
Oh yeah,
where
these
you,
Spanish fuckers, they ain't.
yeah.
No,
Exactly
no,
that.
shit.
No, merde. Yeah, so you'd see the real shit sides of people coming
Yeah.
out, and you'd see what they're really made of, and you'd see people wanting to go hiding, not wanting to play on a Saturday afternoon, faking injuries, being disruptive for being disruptive sake. Because they've got like this 2-year deal left or whatever, and they can be dickheads. They can do what they want, because at the end of the day, they're still going to get all that money put in their account at the end of the month, and it pisses you off. The good, honest, hard-working lads who aren't necessarily the most flary players or whatever, we'd get shoved out the team to bring the more quality in, right? But then we'd start losing. They'd happily go missing.
Spineless.
They would absolutely disappear, pull an injury, and then they'd have to bring the good lads back in again, the hard workers, the grafters. And that really does start to take its toll on you, it does, honestly. When you're seeing people disappearing, not wanting to be there, being late for meetings, purposely being late, you're thinking you're going out your way to be a dickhead. And to go out, that must be hard work. That.
I always think that though, because obviously there's a fine system and everything, right?
Yeah.
At every club.
But it goes, if you're losing, it goes out the window.
Well,
It'll
they
go
don't
out the
find
window.
players.
Yeah, so you start off the season with all the best intentions, and everybody's sticking to it, and it's really tight ship, right? But then you'll win a few, and it's great. But you start losing. You get on a little rut of stuff like that. Players are just chucking their stuff around, leaving stuff in the gym, leaving stuff in the canteen, not putting their plates away and stuff like that. And it just gets forgotten. That'll get forgotten. And if you forgot one, that's it. Everybody gets free reign then, because they'll go, hold on, you forgot that one last week. You didn't fine him for that, did you? So I'm not getting fined.
Oh wow, so it's
Yeah,
a standards thing.
Yeah,
isn't it?
standards thing, yeah.
But that's like, in fairness, in rugby, we're probably luckier in that sense that you've got, the teams that you guys would have played with, same here, you've got a senior group.
Yeah, that's not lucky though, is it?
It's not lucky.
It's
No,
not
it's
lucky.
no, it's not lucky. But what
culture
you've just
of the game, though,
what
isn't
you-
it?
what you've just said now, it was almost impossible to enforce those fines and things. Whereas if somebody, let's just say, like when you were starting, you guys, if Martin Johnson said to you, you're paying a £10 fine, or you hear that, you're there with bells on it, aren't you?
You pay 20.
Yeah, you pay
You know
20.
If it says
what I mean?
10, you pay 20.
So you're kind of like, so that's where, and again, you look, watch a load of football and you see like the United dressing room. I'm a United fan, and the class of '92, and then you had the Roy Keanes and the Palace and these types of characters who basically ran the dressing room. And I think I always like the when Ferguson and Roy Keane had that big thing, and he's saying, "Oh, you're running the dressing room and you're taking over the dressing room." He said, "Well, absolutely, I'm running the dressing room.
You
That's
needed
my,
it.
That's my
That's the
job."
reason why they were successful.
And they pay the fines. They're kept to certain standards.
Yeah.
But I can only imagine just how difficult it is with so many different cultures, nationalities, languages.
They tried to use the fine system as it should be about not wanting to get fined, right?
Yeah.
Because you're keeping a standard, then, aren't you? Right? So everybody's keeping the standard. You're being professional doing it. So then what they tried to do with the fine system is people started to actually ignore it a little bit. So then they said, right, we're going to up the fines. So hopefully it actually hits you in the wallet, and you'll recognise it and you'll realise it, and you won't want to part with £500 or £1,000 at the end of the month or whatever. But players are on so much money.
Yeah.
If you try and fine a player £500 or £1,000 or £2,000 for being late for this or missing this meeting, bothered. Honestly, I've heard so many players go, bothered. Oh well. And you're thinking, Jesus
mad, that,
Christ.
isn't it?
What chance you got though?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? What chance?
true.
If they're not bothered
It's
by
back to
that,
what you said
and they're
earlier,
not bothered
money,
by the pride of actually just breaking the rules,
Yeah, yeah.
then you've got no chance.
It goes
Right.
back to what you said earlier about money, right?
Yeah, that's what it is.
We're I don't think we've covered off 3 things on the list, but it's been brilliant.
Even started on
We haven't even started. So are we going to do part 2 soon?
Yes,
100%.
And do the actual podcast.
We need to do part 2, yeah.
Talk about how Cov City are getting promoted this year.
I think they are, mate. I think they are. Honestly, all my mates are Cov fans. I love it as well. I like
it's
Cov. I
great.
do, to be fair. I used to go watch Cov quite a bit back in the day because up Highfield Road, it was just they weren't far from our house, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with football. Like growing up in Coventry, moving away from Coventry, the heartbeat of the city was rugby. Was okay. Was football.
Yeah.
Our producer Rob, Sunderland Way, Middlesbrough. Yeah, heartbeat. Our other producer, my
bending you over this
producer,
week, mate.
Sunderland. And you get these rundown cities and rundown towns. Their reference point for success is their football team.
Yeah, agreed.
Do you know what I mean? That's what I love.
Yeah.
You know,
I was just you mentioned obviously with Lampard being there. How I always think like, and I know you've said like a lot of the Championship boys in League One are earning good money and things now, but like everybody knows he's multi-millionaire. You know, he's probably living in a very different area to some of the younger players and things like that. How does that?
He ain't living in Cov, I can tell you that.
He's living in Leamington.
He does. He lives where we live, doesn't he? He lives down my street, actually.
He must be doing all right for himself. But how does that work when you know that you've got somebody like that or a real like a Guardiola? And
Mate, this is perfect timing, right? So West Brom played Cov the other day, actually, Saturday
3-2.
afternoon.
Yeah.
And Cov won 3-2. And the goalie coach for West Brom, one of my best mates, we were at their house on Saturday night after the game, and we were just talking about Cov, and he said, "No, they're a good team, mate. They'll get promoted. They're a good team. Simple as that." And then we started talking about Frank Lampard, and he said, "He's the man. He's the man." And he very rarely buzzes off certain people. Very rarely. He went, "Honestly, Ben, he's the man."
that's cool to hear.
Yeah, he says he's got this like lovely aura about him, but not over the top, not a dickhead, not in your face, not like showy or anything. Just a lovely aura, like he really cares and he works really hard. And he said, but even the players, like the way they talk to the way he talks to them, but then the way they respond and talk back to him. Everybody's on a level, everybody's on the same page, and I was like,
Do you know what I like about him? He's not one of these fashionable managers.
not,
you get these ones that use the terminology, and it's all very trying to be seen a certain way. But he just comes across like he does things the right
Honest.
way.
He seems honest and like,
honest. Yeah,
My favourite memory of Frank Lampard as a manager. Remember when the COVID games were going on? And he was manager of Chelsea, and Liverpool had just won the league, and Jurgen Klopp, I think, was giving him something on the sidelines. and he turned round to him. He said, "Oh, you won one Premier League in the last 20 years, and you're giving it the big one now." Type of thing.
you could
hear it across because obviously there's no fans in the stands and things. So I was, he seems like he's doing.
Yeah,
pretty
we
well
like
there.
Frank Lampard.
Do you go and watch football now? Or?
Not really.
You
No,
don't-
a few bits and bobs I'll go and watch, but no, most of the weekends are taken up with my
Kids.
He's a rugby man now.
Yeah, rugby man now. Yeah, I went Twickenham last week, didn't I?
Yeah.
Massive rugby fan now,
Yeah.
mate.
There you go.
Massive. We're going to the Six Nations in February.
Yeah.
We're
Look
going
at
to the
that.
Wales game, actually.
Wales, England.
Yeah, it's the
Okay,
7th,
yeah.
that one is, isn't it?
Yeah,
So we're
yeah,
booked in
yeah,
for the 7th, and we're on
Are
holiday.
you going
after
to
that,
Ireland
but-
away? Are you
No,
going
we're on holiday. We're on holiday for that one, yeah. But so we're going to go down to the Wales one.
He knows when the games are. He ain't got a clue. Proper rugby fan.
No, so the like I say, Twickenham was incredible. Like first experience of going to a proper international game, and the stark contrast from going to a rugby match to go into. You've been saying it for years. I'm going load of bollocks, load of bollocks. But like everybody's having a few pints. Like you get there, Guinness straight away. I had this ledge duck wrap. It was incredible.
Cost you about
Duck
24
wrap.
quid.
It did, yeah, it did. But it was incredible.
But it is different, isn't it? Like you
Lovely.
can't. I go to all sports games, like cricket, football, darts, anything. And rugby is a thing where you can actually mingle. And
Mingle,
stuff. I love football, but I can't take my kids to football.
No,
If I'm going
too
to
much,
Wolves
too
West Brom, right?
Yeah.
If I'm going to Wolves West Brom,
Watch it on TV.
I'm kind of looking over my shoulder. If I go to England, Wales, Ireland, Scotland,
Oh yeah.
it's not a thought.
I
Really,
love
yeah.
the tribalism going to football. Too tall, sit there, fuck that.
Yeah, but he's
You know,
6'9".
I know.
Like you ain't got nothing to
I just
worry
get
about.
rinsed. Yeah. Well, I don't know when they've had a few as well.
Mate, still, I ain't picking on you if I'm half cut. You know, no
Yeah.
chance on this
I
earth.
do,
Yeah,
I
you
do
wanna
like,
see it in
I
Cov.
do like they started to do like a bit of in the Prem, didn't they? Like they trialed like fans in the away
Away,
end,
yeah.
in rugby.
in rugby.
Banter.
And,
Yeah.
and it
Look
didn't-
at Tom.
it didn't-
Absolute
it didn't-
rubbish.
It didn't really work, but like I actually used to like I played it. We used to play at a place called Gloucester in Kingsholm, and the Shed I suppose is about as hostile
Raucous as
away
it gets,
crowd as
yeah.
a raucous, which
Yeah.
they're like giving it the eat off, you miss a kick, and giving it. And I actually like I love that, and I love the idea of like the way that when you score at the away from home, the footballers they're giving it sort of the big one in front of the away fans, and you're sort of having a bit of banter with
Mate,
them
it's
and
not
things.
banter though. If I've been a goalie,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I'm right
yeah.
next to them. I get to
Yeah.
hear everything they say. It's
Yeah.
nasty, mate.
What's the
It's
nasty?
cutting.
What's the worst thing that's been fired at you?
Mate, I've also had someone saying about hope your dog dies, hope your missus. Oh, you're awful, mate. Honestly,
It's a bit
they
different,
say
your dog and
anything.
your missus.
Come from the dog, mate.
He loves the dog more, I think.
but I imagine, because you're having
Brutal,
it.
mate. Honestly, brutal.
It's
they
the
are.
Green Street thing, the mob mentality, isn't
Yeah.
it? And again, there is a kind of dark romance that I do like. It goes back to the point of football uniting cities and towns and stuff like that, and that's part of it because you know the Green Street thing where you get the accountants and stuff like that and the lawyers, and then they turn
Live
into
for the weekend,
roadmen.
mate. Yeah,
Yeah, they live
get
for
it
the
all out,
weekend,
yeah.
you know?
Get it
But
all
is
out.
that maybe why the footballers aren't as stereotypically approachable? Because of
Yeah.
you just said you play 38 league games or 30 odd games a year, and all of a sudden then you're hearing everything like that. You probably don't want to be as
Of
approachable
course, yeah.
to a
sure.
man in the
Got-
street or a lady
you
in the
got-
street.
you
You know
got
what I mean?
Wolves away, right? So this is the best one, isn't it? The Wolves away story, right? We're warming up before the game. I was at West Brom at the time, so I'm going to get pelters. It's Wolves. They're like big derby, big rivals. And there was a mum on the front row. We're just warming up, still like 40 minutes before the game kicks off or whatever. So there's still plenty of seats about and stuff empty. And I'm sort of like just waiting, chilling around or whatever, and she's gone, "Oh, Foster, fuck off!" Right? And I've looked at her. She's got a young kid next to her, and a slightly older kid must have been about 14 there, and this other kid's about 10. And I've looked at her and I've gone, "You got your kids in front of you. Set an example, would you?" And she went, "Fuck off." I'm just like,
It's so funny seeing the
Unreal.
kids
What are you
flicking
gonna
the
do?
bird.
Yeah.
And even some of them are they're doing other stuff
Oh,
in the
yeah,
crowd
of
now.
course,
They're all
yeah,
getting
yeah.
caught in the hay.
Let me
It's
ask
just
you one more
chaos.
thing before we go. As goal kickers, right? The silence.
Hated it.
Did you? What about
I don't know
you?
about you.
No, I've always it was normal for me because Leicester was always silent, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Um,
Leicester, Tolman Park, Munster,
yeah,
those
yeah.
places. Yeah.
No, did I hate? I hated it when you got idiots shouting at you just in your run up because when you're trained to be in silence, which I was at Leicester, so your home crowd, you get boos and stuff and whistles, but it's the one where it's silent and there's one idiot as you're about to start your approach that you just hear.
You can
What
hear
did you
that
hear?
one
Yeah, so
more
there's
than,
always a
than a
balance.
few, can't
Yeah,
you? Yeah.
If there's loads of booing and jeering, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What was the worst?
I was the opposite. I used to love being booed or when it wasn't deathly silent because I used to want to, you would focus you a little bit more. And I used to find when it was eerie silent and you could hear a pin drop, whether it was at Leicester or Munster, and
Yeah.
those type of grounds, or when you played Ireland away, I used to find that then you realised every single set of eyes is kind of on you.
It's about
Whereas,
you at that moment.
whereas when there's a bit of booing, you kind of zone out a little bit, and you're sort of thinking, okay, well, maybe not everyone's fully clued in, and everyone's just sort of
Having a nice
getting
time.
it-
Yeah,
getting
so,
on
so if
board
it was
with
silent during the penalty,
Yeah, I wouldn't like it. I'm the same as you. I'd rather a bit of. I need background noise.
Yeah.
I need a bit of background noise because you can hear the one individual voice then. and that one is normally the one that everyone can hear, and then it starts everyone laughing, and you just think, is this at me? Are they laughing?
It's like the golfers, isn't it?
I've got a quick question about kicking then, right? So anytime England posts any like kicking videos on, and some of the England content's unreal, by the way, but they always show the lads kicking, and they have this like technique, and I'm sure it's probably a coach thing that have implemented into them as well, but when they kick it, they do the little hop, and they don't even look where the ball's gone. They kicked it, and they're hopping, and they're still looking down.
What are you saying about this?
The hop in is ridiculous. I think I saw Marcus Smith do one the other day. I'm like, is that just for the camera?
Yeah, I think that it must
but obviously
be.
you've got to get your weight through the ball and the transfer of weight. But there's this thing where they're hopping around, and it's you watch Henry Slade do it. It doesn't hop. Marcus does it to a ridiculous
Henry
extent.
Slade did do one the other day. I saw it. It was in the video. It was one of them. He didn't do it in one, and then did it afterwards. And I thought, oh, you must do it as well.
Johnny Wilkinson's been. He comes in once a week or something with into England camp, and he does a bit. And that was basically Johnny getting his weight forward and then sort of hopping through for 3 or 4 hops afterwards and things. So
but then looking at the ground afterwards,
it's
looking
like
kicked
head
it.
down kind of thing. Isn't it? So.
That was never me. Like that. They're very much. It's quite. Not robotic, but it's very technical. Sort of thing. You look at George Ford; he's an excellent kicker, but he's very technical. Yeah. Whereas I was always a little bit of technique, but then you have to have a bit of feel and things like that. So I was never.
It's the way Johnny coaches them and
very technical.
It's
broken down, isn't it?
Yeah.
What about when you took a goal kick though? Because you always was it just a momentum thing? Because when you always like hoofed it long, your head would kind of like be down.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that sometimes. If you're trying to munt it, yeah.
But yours would almost stay down for a slightly extended period.
Yeah, it depends what kind of kick. If I'm trying to kick it as far as I could, then I'd do that. But if I'm trying to clip, I'm virtually not even looking at the ball when I'm clipping it.
So hard to goal kick. You think we'd be half decent at goal kicks,
kicking a ball kind of thing. Yeah,
but the football, the ball's going right.
You got to strike it. Yeah, there's a real technique to real pure strike it. It's lovely, it is. But I've tried kicking the rugby balls. I actually really enjoy kicking the rugby balls.
Play out from the back now, anyway. You don't have to go.
I was going to say keepers don't have to goal kick anymore.
Not for West Brom,
thank God. It weren't my game.
I think that's us, isn't it, guys?
Yeah.
Part 2 coming soon.
Yeah, part 2. Good fun.
Cheers, lads. Love that.
Thanks everybody for watching. We hope you enjoyed the latest episode of the Fozcast. Don't forget to give us a follow on Spotify. Up the Fozcast.